Hello friends, welcome to the channel. I am Poonam Dua. With me today you are going to cover very important questions from recent British drama March 2002 question paper. We will do all the RTCs and I'll explain you how to write down the answer in your answer sheets. Before moving further, please do not forget to share and subscribe the channel. This was the first RTC in March 2022 एग्जाम. एक्चुअली ये दिसंबर 2021 सेशन का एग्जाम था जो कि डिले होते हुए मार्च 2022 में कंडक्ट हुआ था. तो सेशन विल बी कॉल्ड दिसंबर 2021 का एग्जाम था. Oh, my offense is rank, it smells to heaven, it had the primal eldest curse upon a brother's murder. Pray can I not, though inclination be as sharp as will. First thing I'll suggest you कि please do at least 6 to 7 plays in detail. बहुत ही अच्छे से बहुत ही detailed way में 6 to 7 plays को आप prepare करें. You should know the whole story of the play. You should know about all the characters. You should know about the major lines spoken by those characters. You should know the basic themes. Then only you'll be able to approach for RTC questions. This was the first. Let us see what are you supposed to write here. You are supposed to give answers in these three parts: reference, context, and explanation. Reference में you will write where are the lines taken from. These lines are taken from Hamlet, which was written by William Shakespeare sometimes between 1599 and 1601, and it is considered to be Shakespeare's longest play. After that, go for the context, like under what circumstances these lines took place and spoken by whom. These lines actually show guilt for the first time in Hamlet by Claudius. Claudius को दिखाया जाता है कि वो एक guilty state में है, pray कर रहे हैं अपने sins के लिए. That was the situation under which these lines were spoken by Claudius. तो सबसे पहले आप reference लिखेंगे कि कहाँ से ये lines ली गई हैं, and then you will show the context, who spoke these lines and under what circumstances. After that, you will start explaining the lines. Claudius begins his soliloquy. Hamlet is not the only character in Shakespeare's play who offers or utters a soliloquy. Claudius, Hamlet's uncle and the main antagonist of the play, the murderer of Hamlet's father, also gives a detailed insight of his thoughts, specifically during this guilt scene. For the first time, of course, in this private moment as he goes to pray in Act 3, Scene 3 of Shakespeare's play Hamlet. तो ये सीन था Act 3. Scene 3 में अगर आप लोगों को acts नहीं भी याद रहते हैं तो that is okay. At least do write to remember the context. So Claudius begins his soliloquy by describing his offense. He says, my offense is rank. Rank means the offense of killing the brother old Hamlet. That is something foul smelling, something foul play, something offensive. Claudius begins his soliloquy by describing his offense as killing his brother, and he call it rank, that is foul smelling, or some kind of crime, some kind of sin. And Claudius wants to be able to pray. It had the primal eldest curse upon it, and he thinks ki I have been cursed after that, a brother's murder I have committed. Pray can I not? So was that crime so big that I cannot pray? He wants to be able to pray in front of God. But his guilt is so great that he is afraid even to address God, though inclination be as sharp as will. वो काफी डरे हुए God को approach करने से, and he himself knows that his crime, his sin is extremely big. So this is the proper way. आपको इसी तरीके से divide करना है, and if you will do so, you will tend to get good marks in your examination. Reference, from where the lines are taken, context, under what circumstances the lines were spoken or told by any character or narrated by someone, and explanation of those lines. Next lines are, what boots it then to think of God or heaven? Away with such fancies and despair, despair in God and trust in Beelzebub. Abjure this magic, turn to God again. In the same fashion, you will go for reference. First, the lines are taken from Dr. Faustus, an Elizabethan tragedy by Christopher Marlowe, very famous playwright of that era, probably written in 1592 or 93, shortly before his death. He died really early at the age of 29. So this should be your first step whenever you see something, and you should have the capacity to identify. For that, you need to do all the plays in detail. And the next is context. The context is that Faustus has recently chosen to be on the side of Satan, that is Lucifer, and he is choosing Lucifer over God, and he will be giving up his soul after 24 years. That is supposed to be the path. And at present, he is under some kind of dilemma, and he is wanting to think about his decision, so he goes to his study. Faustus is back in his study, questioning his decision to choose Lucifer over God. So in these lines, he is trying to convince himself for his decision. जब हम लोग कोई डिसीजन लेते हैं और हमें पता होता है कि कहीं ना कहीं वो डिसीजन थोड़ा सा गलत है, तो हम अपने आप को कोई ना कोई लॉजिक देकर कन्विंस करने की कोशिश जरूर करते हैं. The same thing is being done by Faustus at present. He knows that the decision is not good. It is not good to choose Lucifer over God. It is not a good decision, but he somehow able to convince himself. In these lines, Faustus convinces himself to stop thinking about redemption because redemption is not possible. So वो कह रहे हैं कि क्या रखा है गॉड में और क्या रखा है हेवन में. It is not the time to think of God or heaven. Away with such fancies and despair in God and trust in Beelzebub. Beelzebub is the another name of Satan or Lucifer, you can say. And he thinks that the love of Beelzebub, love of a devil, love of Satan is quite fixed. अगर आपने एक पैक्ट किया है डेविल के साथ, तो वो तो फिक्स्ड है कि उसकी एंजॉयमेंट आपको मिलेगी ही मिलेगी. उसके लिए तो एक पैक्ट साइन किया जा रहा है फॉर 24 years. So Faustus reveals a shaky confidence in his own decisions in these lines, and even though he continues to come back to dark magic, but it has been shown that he keeps on thinking about his decision over and again. So he at present is wanting to go on the side of this magic, and he is not thinking to turn to God again. So again, this type of answer you need to frame when attempting RTC questions. RTC में आपको 5 to 6 पैराग्राफ दिए गए होंगे, जिसमें से at least 4 you need to identify and you need to explain. So over and again I am saying please do cover the plays in detail. At least 6 plays do cover in detail. That will help you a lot to attempt the question number 1 of RTC. अगर आप लोगों ने प्ले किए हैं तो कुछ कीवर्ड्स को देखकर आप इजीली आइडेंटिफाई कर पाएंगे. यहाँ पर तो वर्ड ही यूज हो गया पिग्मेलियन. अगर पिग्मेलियन वर्ड यूज नहीं होता तो यहाँ पर एक वर्ड था गलेटिया, जिससे आप लोग इजीली आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते थे. सो टू डू द प्लेस फर्स्ट इज अ नेसेसरी थिंग. गलेटिया नेवर डज क्वाइट लाइक पिग्मेलियन. हिज रिलेशन टू हर इज टू गॉड लाइक टू बी ऑल टुगेदर agreeable. First thing you are supposed to do is to write the reference. Pygmalion, a play by G.B. Shaw named after Greek mythological figure, was presented in German on stage to the public in 1913. This is the reference of this play. Let us move to the context. Context है कि ये जो lines बोली गई हैं ये epilogue में बोली गई हैं by G.B. Shaw or these days whomsoever performs the play. In his epilogue, Shaw makes clear that Galatea never does quite like Pygmalion. So to understand these lines, actually you need to understand the relationship between Galatea and Pygmalion. Galatea was the figure who represented Eliza of the play, and Pygmalion the figure was represented by Dr. Higgins. So Galatea और Pygmalion में similarities तो बहुत है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं दोनों में कुछ अलग भी है. Specifically the end. He says that Galatea never does quite like Pygmalion. His relation to her is too God-like to be altogether agreeable. Eliza जो कि एक representation है गलेटिया का, एलाइजा और गलेटिया की फिगर में कुछ ना कुछ चेंजेस जरूर हैं. उनके रिलेशनशिप को गॉड लाइक दिखाया गया था इन द mythological story, but it is not so. यहाँ पर हमारी गलेटिया यानी कि एलाइजा और पिग्मेलियन का रिलेशनशिप गॉड लाइक नहीं है, not that agreeable कि we can call it god like. In the Ovid's mythological story, Galatea and Pygmalion were united with each other, but this did not happen in the play. What happens in the play? She marries Freddie and they open a flower shop. In Shaw's play, the stand-in for Galatea, who was Eliza, does not choose to marry the stand-in for Pygmalion, who was Dr. Higgins, Professor Higgins. The largest difference between the play and the myth is the ending. So we cannot call Galatea and Pygmalion to be equivalent figures of Eliza and Dr. Higgins. Eliza is still a part of the Wimpole Street, the address of Dr. Higgins, and she is still interested in Higgins, but she keeps him at a distance. She maintains her pride and holds her derisions of Freddie to a minimum, and she is very much beloved by Colonel Pickering as well, and she turns his love in ancient myth. It was not so bad to have a relationship with God. So during the time of mythological stories, it was considered to be okay to have a relationship with God. But this is not the kind of thing that Eliza wants in the play, and the play's end and the mythological stories end are quite different from each other. Galatea never does quite like Pygmalion. So reference, context, explanation, these are the 3 points that you need to mention while explaining any passage. Next, as imagination bodies forth the form of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to array nothing, a local habitation and a name. The lines are taken from A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a comedy written by William Shakespeare somewhere around 1595 or 96, and the play is set in Athens. So in reference part, you need to give the introduction of the lines from where the lines are taken. These lines spoken by Theseus, a very major character in Midsummer Night's Dream, and before deliverance of these lines, he says the very famous quote, "The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact." When he sees all the lovers of Athens in that forest, then he wonders whether they are creating the story or all this whatsoever they are telling this really happened with them. He is wondering about the creativity of these kind of people or lovers को poets से compare कर रहे हैं. He says, poets who are always looking around make constant connections between things that are earthly and things that are heavenly. पोएट्स और लवर्स ऐसे लोग बहुत स्टोरीज बनाते हैं. जरूरी नहीं है कि वो चीजें अर्थली हो या फिर हेवनली हो, बट दे हैव गॉट द एबिलिटी. पोएट का जो पेन है ना, दैट कैन गिव शेप टू एनीथिंग, दैट कैन गिव अ लोकल हैबिटेशन एंड नेम टू एनीथिंग विच इज एक्चुअली नथिंग. So, and they take the unreal things that flip out of their imagination and write about them as if they were real place or real things. So Shakespeare had a keen appreciation of the value of imagination actually, as that quote from Midsummer Night's Dream suggests. This quote which I'm talking about, "The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact." Before utterance of these lines by Theseus, Hippolyta says to Theseus, "What these lovers are describing is strange." And this was a reply to Hippolyta actually कि these poets and these lovers actually can imagine anything, like poet's pen can turn anything to shape, anything which is nothing can be given a habitation, can be given a name. Your answer should have a frame like this: reference, context, and explanation of the lines. Next one, part E, which was the last part of question number 1 of 2022 March paper, which was actually 2021's December paper. Have you not done tormenting me with your accursed time? One day is that not enough for you? One day he went dumb, one day I went blind, one day we are born, and one day we all die. Now, सबसे पहले आप लोग reference लिखेंगे from where the lines are taken. The lines are taken from Waiting for Godot, which is a play by Samuel Beckett, in which two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, engaged in a variety of discussions and encounters while awaiting the titular character Godot. Godot, who never arrives, and it was a 1952 play. This is a reply by Pozo to Vladimir. Vladimir says that Lucky is dumb now and Pozo is blind now. How come? Yesterday they were fine, and how come today one is blind, one is dumb? Because of his blindness, Pozo has also lost all the contacts with time along with Lucky. So Pozo at present is in a very irritated, very frustrated mood, and he replies these lines: "Have you not done tormenting me with your accursed time one day? Is that not enough for you? One day he went dumb, one day I went blind, one day we are born, one day we all die." So in this speech, basically Pozo is extremely irritated. When Vladimir hears now that Lucky is dumb, he inquires since when. And the question incenses Pozo and causes him to violently reject Vladimir's concern with time. Ki why do you want to know the perfect time? Is it not enough for you? And one is blind and one is dumb. Why do you want to know the perfect time? One day he went blind, one day he went dumb, one day I went blind, one day we are born, one day we all die. Is that concept not okay for you? Okay. So when Pozo first performs in the play, he is able to see in this scene the table have turned a bit and Pozo is now blind. Here he is making a very broad view of the fate of all humans, all mankind. The quote means that birth is the beginning of death. जब हम पैदा होते हैं तो एक फैक्ट हमारे साथ जुड़ जाता है और कुछ होना हो कि we will die one day. Women give birth spanning a grave. जब एक फीमेल बर्थ देती है तो वो एक ग्रेव को भी डिजाइन कर चुकी होती है उसी वक्त. Suggests that the life is only a brief flash of time, an instant, and then death is the inevitable end. This is what these lines are telling us कि have you not done tormenting me with your accursed time? Time की इतनी परेशानी क्यों है? One day it happened. One day, is that not enough for you? One day he went down, one day I went blind, one day we are born, one day we all die. This is our fate, one day it is to happen. So why to worry so much about that particular point of time? Since when? Since when का question क्यों पूछ रहे हो if we are telling you कि one day it happened? So these 5 examples I have given to you. There is one more set of important RTCs of which I'll provide the link in description. Please go through that. Please go through this video and do cover all the plays. Then only you'll be able to identify from where the lines are taken. This is the video link for other important RTCs for the same subject, MEG 02 British Poetry. You may contact us through WhatsApp to join our online classes. Thanks a lot for watching. Best of luck for your exams, and please do not forget to share and subscribe the channel.